before we even get there, man, before we get started, one of my one of my favorite wrestlers coming up passed away. Hacksaw Butch Reed passed away, and man, he was a good dude, man. He's a good dude. I remember a little story about Hacksaw Butch Reed. I remember my brother and I watched Doom, of course, coming up, and we wanted to kind of like be like Doom. And then I remember being in the Global Wrestling Federation, we were doing a 6-man one night, and our partner that night was Hacksaw Butch Reed. And my brother and I, we were so excited, man, to be the match with Hacksaw Butch Reed. We were like, man, this is awesome. I learned so much from Butch Reed that night too, man. Very important lesson coming up here. I remember we had gotten the match. Boom, we started the match. I think I might have started bing, bing, bing. I think Hacksaw say, let me get in. You know what I mean? Oh, Hacksaw might have started, and I'm not sure, but I do know when Hacksaw got out of the ring, he said, I'm done for the night. In other words, where's my check?
And if memory serves me right, you just said he came in for the hot tag, hit this guy, hit this guy, hit this guy, done.
Where's my check? I'm done for the night. It was just it was one of those nights where Hacksaw didn't do a whole lot in the ring that night at all, but it was one of the most memorable nights in global wrestling history as far as my career go. 2 years ago when I was there that night, man, in the ring with Hacksaw Butch Reed. I don't know if it was, I wouldn't necessarily say it was one of those moments where I felt like, man, we made it, but it definitely was a moment that I had never dreamt or thought about as a kid coming up ever one time in my life. And Butch Reed was such an icon, especially here Houston wrestling to me. And then to find myself, in the ring with Butch, and on the road with Ron Simmons, Ron Simmons, giving me knowledge, you know what I mean? So it's just amazing how that circle came around, and, it happened, for my brother and I, it's just crazy, but God's going to, take care of him. We definitely going to miss Hacksaw Butch Reed. He definitely, people don't know about Hacksaw Butch Reed, but he, as far as outside of wrestling, he was a cowboy. He was a real cowboy, as far as, bronco busting horses, cattle and whatnot, steers. I remember one day I went to a Comic-Con, and he had his leg was in a full cast, and he said, I said, what happened to you, man? He goes, my horse fell on me. But that wasn't the part that got me. But the part that got me was, he goes, but she's a good horse. That's a real cowboy.
That's awesome,
right there, man.
That's an awesome story.
Follow you, you don't shoot him. There you go. She's a good horse. You know what I mean? So definitely gonna miss Hacksaw Butch Reed.
What did though Doom overall, but what did Butch Reed mean to guys like you, guys like, obviously he was tagging with Ron, but even Mark, a lot of the African-American talent, because I think Doom sometimes gets overlooked nowadays. People just really focus on Ron Simmons and him being the first, black world heavyweight champion. But since we are in Black History Month, what did Doom mean, and more specifically, Hacksaw Butch Reed?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Doom honestly is secondary to Hacksaw Butch Reed. Really, I mean, Hacksaw Butch Reed is so much bigger than Doom. It eclipses one. So when I watched Hacksaw Butch Reed back in the day, coming up here in Houston wrestling, man, he was bad to the bone. He was the real deal. You knew Hacksaw Butch Reed was a top guy. And the only reason Hacksaw Butch Reed didn't become, perhaps WWF, world champion is because of, man, he rolled at the beat of his own drum. He didn't listen to nobody. You're not going to hear about, Hacksaw Butch Reed kissing up to anybody in this business just because he wasn't beholden to, the business or anyone. He was his own man. Doom was, before its time, as far as being a tag team that could have really drew a whole lot of money. If those guys would have came around at the time my brother and I came around, man, Doom would have been so huge, man. I mean, they would have been like the Road Warriors. Their names would have been that big. Even the short stint that Doom was together, and I don't think Butch Reed and Ron Simmons was together no more than maybe a couple of years, maybe. And people still talk about the Legend of Doom, not the Legion of Doom, the Legend of Doom. Those guys were scary individuals, and they looked like two grown ass men that would just beat you up and literally like take you and flip you upside down and shake all the money out of your pockets. That's what that kind of guys they were. And they were definitely, groundbreaking as well as inspirational as far as the Harlem Heat goes.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, obviously Doom, but even when you look at Hacksaw Butch Reed as just, if you look at his 8x10, you say, man, first of all, don't want to cross that guy ever in a million years. I mean, when you talk about being jacked and just muscular and physique off the charts, man. And the other thing is, I just wonder why, I don't know, why do you think that I don't know, I feel like Butch Reed, to my generation, you don't hear that name as much as you do the Ron Simmons. And I guess it's because Ron had a long run in WWF as a part of APA and all the other things. But as a worker, from your standpoint, how great was Butch Reed in the ring?
I could tell you this. I never got a chance to wrestle Butch, one-on-one or anything like that. But I've never heard one bad thing about Butch Reed inside the squared circle. And that tells me a whole lot. I've never heard, normally when you hear, just like, for instance, Ryback. I'm just playing. Don't put that on the internet. Don't just play. No, but certain guys, when you hear their name, certain things go along with it. Butch Reed was not one of those guys, but Butch Reed was one of those guys also that, he wasn't to be played with. You know what I mean? He was kind of like me. I didn't like to be ribbed or anything like that. I didn't like, horseplay or anything like that. I was all about, coming to work, with my hard hat on, doing my work, getting my check at the end of the week and moving on. And I think, Butch Reed was that, cut from that same cloth as far as, man, I'm here to, get paid and do my job and get up out of here. The stint that he had in WWF back in the day, the natural Butch Reed, where he came out blood and whatnot. I just don't think, Butch Reed really ever embraced, being the natural Butch Reed. And the thing is also, I don't think they could have had two hacksaws in the same company. So that kind of like threw a monkey in the wrench.
Yeah, WWE was really good in the 90s with some gimmicks in late 80s, early 90s. And some of them, it's like, the natural Butch Reed wasn't a bad gimmick by any means. I mean, it wasn't the Red Rooster. You know what I mean? Like, he could have really had a bad gimmick, but sometimes it just wasn't a personality match. It did, and I think that you're right to some extent. More people remember him for his run as Hacksaw Butch Reed, but rest in peace to a legend, a surefire first balloter, and a groundbreaker. He was definitely a groundbreaker, and his name needs to be mentioned more with the Ron Simmons and the Big Cat Ernie Ladds and the JYDs of the world.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, stick around. We got a whole lot more for you, and we'll be back in a momento.